What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Into My GT Entertainment, and I am Joel. Nice to see you here on this lovely day, whatever day this is that it's out. But what we are doing today is something that I ordered 4 months ago. It's in the box over there, on top of the box actually. I'm going to unravel it with y'all, and we'll kind of look at it, and then we're going to install it. It's something very simple, but it's something that people haven't done a lot of. Now, I'll get into that in a moment, but I'm going to go ahead and throw the intro. I know, I'll fix it one day, or I'll add this car to it. We'll figure something out with it. Be right back. Alright everyone, so I'm working in kind of tight spaces today because it might rain outside, so I didn't want to pull everything out to go do what I got to do here. So what we are doing today is something that I've talked about before, and I haven't had it on hand, and now I do, so we're going to go ahead and get that put on. 4 bolts. 4 bolts all it is, and it's something that my performance pack came with, but after adding the Whipple, you can't use your factory one. And what I am talking about is the Strut Tower Brace that goes from here over to there. Now, VMP makes one which is carbon fiber, which is supposed to clear that. You'll be able to close the hood and not have any issues. So we're going to tackle that today and see if that's really true. We're going to see if we have to remove anything extra or add something to it or whatever comes down the road. I'll show you what came with the Strut Tower Brace and so on and so on. So with no further ado, let's go look at it and see what it looks like. Alright, so, well, I got my helper. Let me put her in there. This is Truffles. She's always in the middle of everything going on, so she's supervising all my builds and acting a little chaos in between, isn't it, baby girl? Yeah, so with her, you know, we got this box right here. And that's what's more curious for her, is what is going on in this box. I took everything out the box. It came wrapped up in little plastic, well not plastic, little wadded cardboard paper, and came wrapped up in the styrofoam film stuff right here for protection. It also came with a new set of bolts and plastic washers, so that way they match the outside of it versus the chrome or whatever. So that's kind of nice. You get your little stickers from VMP. But I know we want to see the meat and potatoes here, so let me unravel that for you. All right, let's see what it looks like. So this is the carbon fiber Strut Tower Brace made by, well, for VMP. I don't know who actually makes it for them. I know they have a vendor that does it. And to let y'all see, it is woven carbon fiber. So I don't know if it's just woven around the actual metal one, but like again, it's a little different. As you can see, it has more of an angled up position to go cross over that Whipple. So hopefully we don't have any clearance issues. And like I said, I'm looking at some of the work on it, and it's okay. I've seen better carbon fiber done, but you know, right now we're not going to be picky about it and whatever, but like I said, it's one of those things where you kind of have to figure it out if you really want it, don't want it, you know. And like I said, it's one of those things that's going to add a little extra hit to what you got going on under the hood, or it's not important to you at all. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead, get this out to the car, kind of size it up and see how it's going to look. So give me 1 second. Alright everybody, so I took it out to the car just to see what I needed to do, and I got an idea how it's going to look now. But I wanted to show y'all something that I also got for this. I had it on my old Strut Tower Brace because for some reason Ford stopped putting nameplates on them where it would say Performance GT or Mustang GT or Eco or whatever the other ones used to say. So as you can see, it's kind of on there and it's kind of plain, you know. So what I did, I hit up the boys up at Anchor Room, and I got a plate made to go on the center of the thing. Let me pull it out of here and show you what it looks like. When you order the stuff from Anchor Room, they send you a little sticker, a card, and how to apply it. There's not much really to applying this, but as you can see, it says Coyote. This one says Whipple Supercharged and the horsepower that it is presently making. Now, you know, that could go up or down, but you know, it is what it is, right? It gives an idea. And yeah, this is what it looks like. And then we're gonna measure it up and kind of put it in the middle here somewhere. And then that'll be kind of what it looks like. I think it's gonna have a good little accent to it. So I'm probably gonna go ahead and tackle that part now and get that centered where I wanted it to and go from there. And again, there's not much to it. You know, it's just a little double-sided tape thingy, and that's what it is. And yeah, if you can see what I got going on here, that's going to be in this story too. I'll get into that in a little bit later. But we are talking about this right now. I know y'all don't want to see that. So yeah, not too bad. All right, everybody. So what I went ahead and did was mounted the sticker on the actual arm, the Strut Tower Brace, before I put it on the car, because that way you don't have to lean on the car and do whatever. So this is how it came out right here. As you can see, it's pretty much well centered. I tried to get the best measurements between here and here, and then divide it in the middle, then get this, and you know, all that math. So what it is what it is, but I think it came out pretty centered and not too shabby, not too shabby. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the bolts on the other thing, and we'll go from there. All right, everybody, since my car did come with a Strut Tower Brace, it goes right there where those bolts are. Those are 15mm bolts, and that hooks to the brace. It goes around over there to those over there in the corner. So what I'm gonna do is undo those. I had to take that off because it's a bracket that holds that over that bolt. And then I'm gonna pop those off and then feed the new Strut Tower Brace on there and hope it fits. All right, guys, this is a preliminary look of what it's gonna look like. Now I want y'all to notice something here. On this side, the holes are pretty much normal. Right here, there's no adjustment to it. But on this side over here, the slits are a little longer. So as you can see right now, it's almost touching, and some places touching the Whipple itself. You can sit there and push it forward on this one, and as you see, it lifts it up. So that way you can adjust this side where you need to, then you tighten down the other side. So just food for thought, so that way you have yourself some clearance between the two, and then you won't have that crazy look to it. So let me go ahead and mess with this real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, everybody, so this is with it installed and in place. And as you can see, there is, I guess if the camera picks it up, there is a space between the Supercharger and it's the Strut Tower Brace. And it does look pretty good. It kind of matches this going on, and you know, gives a little accents from here to there, and is what I was going for. Like I said, a lot of people don't have this on their car. Now let's be honest with it, okay? It can kind of go 50-50. Some people like it with some people like it without. I think it looks good without too. Now for the price of this thing was right there at $400 through VMP, and like I said, the quality of it is not that great, I don't think, for what you're paying for and the amount of time I had to wait for it. Like I said, it looks good for that, but you know, like right here, it's like a I don't know if they didn't cut it right or whatever the case. So it looks like a drip, but it's kind of how the metal is under it. And then the clear coat itself that they have over it, you can see a lot of fish eyes and stuff like that. So it's not by far a perfect piece. Like I said, for the show aspect, I think it'll do fine for what it is. But again, we'll try it out. The hood does close. Let me go ahead and show you all that. So the hood does close, so we don't have an issue with that part. You would think that you would have a clearance issue, but we are good to go there. I don't think anything is pushing or raising up on anything that I could see. So, you know, we'll have to kind of study that here shortly, and you know, after we take it for a little trip and drive it down the road, see if it makes any noise or if it bends or whatever the case. You know, it is supposed to be carbon fiber wrapped, so it should be pretty strong, right? So let's get going. All right, so that is that part of this video. Like I said, it's on there, and like I said, I like the accent that came out pretty straight on it, you know. So like I said, we'll have to play with it and see, but like I said, I like that I have little accent points under the hood for the carbon fiber pieces. So like I said, that at least is just not like you got a carbon fiber strut tower brace and that's it. At least it complements the inlet tube and now the radiator. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do carbon fiber wise. Like I said, I'm not really a carbon fiber guy, but like I said, it's one of those things where I got the inlet tube, so I wanted to dress up some of it, so that way it's just not like boom, there it is. So I think he turned out pretty good. What do y'all think? I know it's probably gonna be really opinionated because, you know, the big Whipple by itself looks pretty good, but I've always had a strut tower brace, and like I said, a lot of people do not add that to this car after they put the Whipple on there. So just want to get your opinion and see what y'all think about it. So let's travel back inside, because I know you saw those other boxes, right? So let me tell you what the deal is with that. All right, guys, so the deal with these rims right here, these rims are for the drag wheels that I have, the NT555 R2s. Well, I won't call them drag, just a radial. So that way they're the same exact rims that are on the car right now, same size, everything. They're 20 by 11s, and you know, same bolt pattern, same everything. The reason why I went ahead and did that was because that way I can go ahead and swap out the rims in the rear as I need to, and they'll match the front. Granted, it's a little expensive to do it this way, because I did reach out to a couple people to see if I could get some help with the project or whatever, and you know, crickets. And if I don't have 2 million subs, it doesn't waste their time. So you know, to be real, I spend a lot of money on what I do, and I do it for y'all. And like I said, I don't ask for anything in return, just for y'all to watch the videos, share them, and do whatever. And maybe down the road something can come out of it, you know, where I'm doing this stuff and getting a little help. Again, I'm unemployed, and you know, some of this stuff was in the works before, but you know, this came out of pocket, and you know, I reached out to Velgen, and you know, he said he would get back to me, and it just never manifested. And like I said, the tires I already have, so that way I'll just go ahead and throw them on these rims. And like I said, once I get those done, I'll throw the drag pack on and see how it hooks up. I'm gonna have to do it first without the drag pack, you know, just to get a correlation of how it feels. I'll bring you all along for that little journey. So tomorrow I'm gonna get up, get those mounted on those tires, and then, you know, go from there. That's the project that I got going on with that. People telling me, oh, you don't have enough meat on, so you need to drive a slick, but you know, I am not here for that. I'm not here for driving around and slick everywhere I go. I don't, that doesn't sound fun to me at all. Like I said, I'm not gonna go ahead and burn corners every time I go out in this car. You know, I could drive it like a normal human being, believe it or not. I do get, you know, spirited, and that's kind of how it's built for, but you know, it's not like every corner is a quarter mile for me. You know, maybe a lot of people are kind of, well, you should be, or that's what you built it for. No, I built it for me, and I built it for an all-around car, and that's what I'm going to use it for. You know, I might get spirited out on the street. I might take it to the track. I might take it to, you know, a road course. Who knows? Or I might not do none of that stuff and just drive it till I die, and then somebody else can take it over, right? So that is my plan with this. So that is why I have these Belgians sitting here. They are, again, if you want the specs on them, they're the exact ones I have on my car, the same offset, everything. So, and they should fit the same exact way as these do, because the tires are pretty much the same. The 315s, they're just the radial version versus the street version. So yeah, that's my deal, and that's what I'm going with. All right, everybody, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it for a ride and make sure there's nothing crazy. It shouldn't be. Like I said, I'm letting her warm up now. Not gonna take very long, get as hot as balls out here, but we can go ahead and show you it one more time before the drive. Doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look too bad. And again, it does have the spacing over it, so it's not sitting on the supercharger itself. So at least in that aspect, it looks good. They gave you the black bolts, so that looks good, you know. So we'll go ahead, give this thing a drive, make sure everything is fine, no weird dents on the hood when I get back or whatever, and we'll go from there. Well, but guys, that is the video for today. I took it on for a drive, came home, looked at it again. Everything is good to go. Like I said, it is what it is. It's a Strut Tower Brace, carbon fiber, and as I showed you in the back, it is wrapped in carbon fiber. It might be a normal one wrapped in the carbon fiber, so you know, it is what it is. Take it for that. The fitment on it is good. Like I said, you can kind of adjust a little bit of the height so you don't have it laying on the Whipple and you don't have it hitting on the top. So that's kind of a little thing you got to play with a little bit. It came with its own black bolts, and it came with those plastic washers that go on top, so that way you don't scar it all up. So for the most part, I give it a 6 out of 10. Again, like I said, the actual product itself isn't that great. The way that they it has a lot of finish problems on it, and you know, stuff like that. And like I said, when you're spending $400, you expect to get something a little bit more pristine and better, but you know, I waited 4 months for that, right? So it's kind of just part of the disappointment. And like I said, I'm sure it's not a VMP thing, it's the vendor, but you know, they're stamping their name on it to send it out with a product that they are using, right? So you know, it's kind of goes back to them anywho. But for the most part, we'll leave it at that. It works, it's on there, it adds the look I was looking for, so that part it does fine. So as y'all could see, which I'm going to show you here in a second, Minion is now missing. Brandon has now started his project of getting Minion ready for his Whipple. And if you didn't know, he's getting a 3.0 Whipple for his car. So ain't no telling how this story's going to end, but he says he's doing the install, so I'm sure I'll be doing an install with him. But he's getting that done. He's getting some parts and stuff done with it, and you know, getting it all prepared for what it is. His car is going to need a little more, because you know, his car is almost 100,000 miles, where mine had 4,500 miles on it. So you know, so we'll go see how that ends up. Good old Nightwing here needs a wash, but it's been raining. It still might rain today, so you know, ain't worried about that. Cindy has taken over Brandon's spot because it gives access to the garage. He's been driving the truck and the Jeep, so he is now a Mopar guy. Y'all can let him know on his channel, Mopar, you know. But anyway, enough of that stuff. For Wasp, it's definitely been a nice little change in her. The Whipple has definitely woke her up. I definitely think if you can afford a Whipple, go that route, because the Supercharger is great. I was doing a little bit of spirited driving earlier, took traction control off, it blew the tires at 3rd, almost 4th gear. So yeah, we'll try those other tires once I get those mounted. So until then, we'll see you on the next video.